groundzeroplus.com Polynation broadcast is on the air. That was the Cinematic Orchestra. All That You Give. So welcome to another weekend full of, well, we're just going to fill it with imagination today. Mostly going to talk, well, we've got a heavy music show today, and the history of heavy metal according to Polynation is coming up tomorrow, which is it's a subjective fun thing I'm doing. I'm not saying this is the truth and whatever. It's just my take on the origins of heavy metal, being the music, that is. But today, other than the amazing tunes I have lined up, hopefully ones you haven't heard, we're going to talk about AI Atlas, but from a perspective that I haven't heard very many people speaking about, if any, and I'll explain that after we get back into some more tunes. Don't forget, we're live here every weekend from 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time here on groundzeroplus.com. You can listen for free. Also on TalkStream Live, you can listen for free. But if you want to become a member, you find yourself in the chat room here, and that's called the Greenhouse. During the Polynation broadcast, that's where all the cool kids hang out. No drama, good vibes for all tribes, I promise. Or your money back. Okay, I don't know about the money back thing, but just felt like it naturally should have said that. So here's some more tunes. This one's called To the Train by Phil Smith on the Polynation broadcast. Oh, by the way, I'm Polly.
yeah, oh yeah.
What were the skies like when you were young?
With white clouds. Sometimes you have golden clouds. Blue space, white clouds. Sometimes we got golden clouds. Sometimes we got rain, sometimes we got a rainbow. Shining sun. This grass where we build the clash. And this grass where we build the punk. Return to rebuild the monk. And say to the funk, I funk out the funk. And I cast out the punk. Cast out the junk. Then I threaten the monk. Monk be monk. Funk be funk. And punk be punk. And junk be junk. We don't want no junkie. Give us the monkey. We don't want no junkie. Give us the animal. Give us the lion. Give us the lion. Give us the lion. Give us the jungle. Give us the trees. The breeze. The trees. The breeze. The trees. The rain and the thunder from the jungle. Oh yeah, God, save the King of Kings. Oh yeah, God, save the King of the Kings. Oh yeah, God slew the Queen. Oh yeah, God slew the Prince. God slew the Princess of Darkness. Blue space, white clouds. Sometimes we got golden clouds. Sometimes we got a rain, sometimes we got a rainbow. Welcome to the blazing sun. I standing in Babylon. Is it to Babylon or you a Babylon? Babylon, me know you're Babylon. But Babylon, you can't rob my plan. And Babylon, you can't grab my plan. And Babylon, you can't touch my man. For I am the man of the man. Really arms. See it and hear it, smell it and taste. Blue space, white clouds. And I have golden clouds with white clouds. Sometimes we got golden clouds. Sometimes we got rain, sometimes we got a rainbow. Shining sun. God is great and God is great and to go man, God don't subordinate. Well done, well done. Welcome, 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 welcome. Well done, well done. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to the blazing sun. Sometimes we got golden clouds. Sometimes we got a rain, sometimes we got a rainbow. Shazam connect and Pazam connect.
It's the Polynation broadcast. We're live every weekend from 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Saturdays and Sundays. And today we're going to do a little bit of thought experimentation. Maybe a little, not mental gymnastics, because that sounds like work, but maybe stretching imagination a bit. So, tons of news about, well, at least in my feed, about 3I Atlas. This apparently fairly large-sized object. By fairly large, I mean about the size of Manhattan. So if you zoom out, if you go to Google Earth and you go to Manhattan and then you zoom out until you can see the whole Earth, it's still pretty small, really. But if something this size hit the Earth, it would cause problems, a lot of problems, and probably even more problems if it landed in the ocean. And if you think about that, there's a 2/3 chance that anything that hits Earth is going to hit the water. That's not good. That would be horrible for a significant amount of the human civilization, I would say. So there's people talking about that possibility of that. I don't really think I think they know which way it's going. But the people say, oh, they're just lying to us. That's why they built all the bunkers and blah. Okay, maybe. Maybe it's going to smack into the earth. That's one theory that I've heard. So, usually what I like to do with these theories is say, okay, suppose it does. Then what? Well, in a case like that, there's not very many then whats unless you're in one of those bunkers. Or maybe on the right side of a mountain. So, not really much to talk about for that idea. Thankfully, it's probably not likely, and I don't spend too much time thinking about the ones you can't really do anything about. But that's one of the possibilities I've heard. Here's another one. I like to call this possibility, like, I put it in a category called the Independence Day category, where it's definitely they're coming to Earth to invade, to take over. The elites know it. That's why they're just going to hide underground. And hopefully they go away someday after they take all the resources. Yeah, okay, that could happen. Or it could be more like V. They come down here pretending to be our friends. And then they give us all this cool stuff and cure all the diseases, but really they're harvesting our organs or something. Or using us for food. Okay, fine, those possibilities. Can't really argue with them because nothing's happened yet. And there's tons of movies, so I can understand why a lot of people have these sort of, opinions on, or scenarios kind of stuck in their head. And it also could be like Close Encounters. Maybe they're just curious, trying to figure out how to communicate with us. There's other people that think it's a probe. Some kind of a, or maybe Oumuamua was a probe, and this is the mothership for that. I've heard people say that. What else have I heard? Well, I haven't heard the other theories that I have, actually, so I'll save those ones. But that's just, there's plenty of other ones out there that I'm probably forgetting. They could just be, another possibility is it could just be a rock and it might just fly by. And it's just coincidentally passing 4 of our planets within, I'd say, scanning distance in one pass. Just happens to be passing 4 of them exactly at the right time. Those 4 are Earth, Mars, Venus, and Jupiter. So that's kind of a strange path to take. I get that. But we've seen stranger things in space, haven't we? I know I've heard about them. Maybe not personally seen them, but you know what I mean. Anyways, let's get back into some more tunes here. We got a tune by Mount Kimby called A Figure in the Surf. And when we come back, I'll talk about some of the other possibilities that maybe some people haven't considered yet. At least no one's talking about them. It's Polynation Broadcast, groundzeroplus.com. Polynation broadcast. Still talking about 3i Atlas. I think we should give it a better name. Like, I don't know. Anything easier to remember than... For some reason, I always want to say i3 Atlas. Maybe I'm dyslexic. Anyways, we're talking about it from the perspective of... Because a lot of people think that it could be aliens. And it could be, but everybody thinks that it's going to be like Independence Day, or like they're going to come here and, oh, here's another one. They're going to come here and stop thermonuclear war and save the planet and turn humanity around and put it back on the right path. I've heard that theory before too. It's an optimistic one. I love it. And that would be cool. But how many people would trust that? Because of all the movies out there. How many people would trust that, do you think? I think it would be a serious problem. You would have the people... It would divide the world. You'd have the people that were like, oh, these aliens are cool. They want to help us. Look. And maybe they do. And let's say if they did, there would still be people, a lot of people, that'd be like, nope, I've seen V. I know what this is like. Or it could end up being a situation like District 9, where they sort of kind of have to land here because they need to. They're going to crash if they don't, or they're going to run out of something or whatever, and we quarantine them. Like maybe they don't have weapons at all. Maybe they never thought of making weapons. So I've got a bunch of other theories that I want to get to. But that was one I forgot to explain. One that I've heard, that they're going to come here and help us. They're going to give us back to tanks. They're going to give us anti-gravity. They're going to scold us for using nuclear bombs. And we're going to feel like, as a civilization, we're going to feel pretty infantile. They're probably going to make us feel really, really bad about ourselves. But then they'll help us. And then they'll maybe hold that over our heads every time we do something wrong again. It's in human nature. What do you expect? That's what human nature is. It's flawed. We're not a fixer-upper, if you know what I'm saying. All the aliens out there listening. Well, I don't think we're a fixer-upper. You just have to accept us with our flaws, okay? That's what I would say to them. And, I wouldn't want them to fix everything. Some things I like, a little squeaky around the wheels, or whatever you want to say. Not broken, but with character. Like aged, or like patina. Humanity has a nice patina. I don't want to get rid of that. So here's another one. And it's, what if they're pirates? What if they're just pirates? They just want to come here. They don't care about us. They'll kill us if we get in the way. They're just going to come here, take what they need, and leave. Well, maybe they won't be that obvious about it. Maybe they'll be really clever about it. Like, they'll take their time. They'll, send people here first, or let's call them agents, way before 3i Atlas gets here. And they infiltrate things like the global government, the banking system, maybe hacking the weather with all this new technology. Maybe they do that decades in advance. And so we don't even realize we're getting punked. At least not by the planetary pirates. We think we're getting punked by the government. But it could really be planetary pirates. And 3i Atlas is just coming here to pick them up. And we won't even know what happened. So there's a possibility maybe some of you haven't heard of. I haven't heard anyone talking about that. But it makes sense. Look at the governments. Look at the state of the world. Look at what seems to be a dark hand of control that happens behind the scene that no one can put their finger on. You can call it the Illuminati or whatever. Cabal. Lots of names for it. The devil. Could be planetary pirates. Could be, man. I'm just telling you. Don't rule it out. Also, there's this curious detail. I know we have photographs of other rocks. NASA has, well, maybe whatever you think about NASA. Apparently, there are photographs of smaller sized objects and larger. And you can tell, you can kind of see what the shape of them is. And don't get me wrong, I've seen the ones that say in very tiny small print at the bottom that most people don't even notice. It says artist's rendition. I know the difference between that and a photograph. And we do have some. How come we don't have any? We just put the James Webb telescope out there. Can it take pictures of everything except rocks? Why haven't we got a picture of it? That's kind of strange. We've even got moving like time-lapse moving pictures of, I believe it's Apophis. That one's big. That's a global killer. But I don't think Atlas is one of those. I think it's, I don't know, the result of something that happened very far away. And it's just been influenced by so many gravitational forces and electromagnetic forces, depending on its composition, which is another question. No one seems to know what it's made of yet. But we can figure out what other stuff is made of. We can figure out what the atmosphere is made of on an exoplanet. But we can't figure out what this thing is. It's already in our solar system. We don't know what it's made of. I don't know. Doesn't that bother anybody else? Kind of makes me scratch my head a little bit. I'm not concluding anything by asking these questions. It just makes me scratch my head a little bit. Like, why don't we just take a picture of it and analyze it? Like, is it moving too fast? What? I don't understand. Same thing happened with Oumuamua. We didn't get a picture of it. There's talk that they might be able to track it and maybe get a picture of it. But that, I don't know, it seems sketchy. They have pictures of smaller ones. How did they get those? Maybe those telescopes don't work anymore? I don't know. I don't claim to know. I just think that knowing the answer to that question would probably answer a lot of other questions that I have about this thing. So there is a few other theories, and then I think we'll just let this topic go. It's kind of like other topics on the. What is it with these? It seems like topics now. I don't know if it's just me. Maybe like my ADHD is getting more severe, but I feel like, you know, anything major that's happening in media, not just mainstream but alternative as well, it just gets curbludgeoned for like 2 weeks straight, and until something else comes along. And it used to be like a couple of months people talk about stuff. You get a lot more perspectives in a couple months than you would in 2 weeks At least in my opinion. Because it gives people time to think about it and absorb all the information and maybe come up with an angle that's not been seen from, if that makes sense. I think it does. Anyways, there's one more theory that I really want to explore, because it sort of relates to our behavior, and by our I mean humanity in general, the world. I'm not focusing any people out except for like maybe Israel and what's going on in the Middle East and all the fighting it's always gone on there and other places in the world. That might tie in with what one of my theories of 3i Atlas could be, if it is alien. Of course, all of these perspectives that involve, landing, and it's all alien perspective. If it's just a rock flying through the solar system, we're not going to have much to talk about unless it's made of something that we've never seen before, and then everyone gets excited. Maybe we send a mission there to mine it. But that's probably not going to happen. Not yet. It'd be cool if we could catch it. Slow it down enough so that it'll be there for long enough for us to figure out what it's made of. Maybe take a picture. Like an actual photograph. Maybe if we could swing it in like closer to the moon, we could, when we send people to the moon, which is supposed to happen next year, then we can take pictures of it from the moon. Because now our cameras won't be full of highly volatile film. They'll be digital. It'll work. I know it'll work. Anyways, let's get back into some more tunes. How about The Proxy by aug2? No relation, by the way. It's the Polynation broadcast, groundzeroplus.com. Polynation broadcast. Almost lost you there for a second. I got you back though. I had some technical issues on my end. It's totally my fault. But it's fixed now and we're back. Still talking about Three Eye Atlas. Here's a scenario. If it is, in fact, an alien craft. Oh wait, before I get into that, does anyone remember Star Trek IV, the movie? I think it's called The Voyage Home. And Earth is visited by this really long cylindrical probe thingy with a ball hanging down from it. Just one. And it spun around and made these weird sounds. And turns out it was trying to find a humpback whale, which apparently in that year of the movie, which I can't even remember what year that movie took place in, because they used time travel. Anyways, long story short, both Oumuamua and Three Eye Atlas, at least from what I can gather, seem to have a similar shape. It's very like oblong. Like when they compare it to Manhattan Island, you think about the shape of that. It's really kind of a long, weird shape for an asteroid is what I'm getting at. But it kind of looks a lot like the probe in Star Trek 4. Was that predictive programming? Now every time I watch that movie, I have one eyebrow raised, just like Spock, for the whole entire movie. It's still a good movie, by the way. Are we being set up for something maybe like Blue Beam? Like, can they really pull something like that off? It's supposed to happen in November, I guess, or late October. I don't know about Blue Beam. I mean, maybe, but that would mean that there's no aliens, and I want to believe there's aliens. Here's another scenario. What if it's a giant alien ship, okay? And it looks like a rock, and the reason why it looks like a rock is because that's the best way to shield yourself from cosmic radiation. It's just have a shit ton of rock around you. Some people think that's what the moon is, and that's why it looks that way. You can live inside the moon. But what if it's full of refugees? What if their planet exploded? Or got eaten up by a supernova or something? And they had to leave. And maybe they've been traveling towards us for like hundreds of generations, just hoping one day somebody's grandkids will be able to walk outside of their spaceship and breathe air and see the sky and maybe an ocean. What if they're on their way here for that? And what if they genuinely need our help? Would we help them? I mean, if I was them, I would just land in the middle of the ocean, as far away from all of the land as possible, because assuming I have the technology to make that giant spaceship float, and then you could have your own island. And you could live there on that island. Do you think we'd allow that? I don't think so. I mean, I would at least like to visit them first, but I don't think we would allow that. We're still very tribal, too tribal. I mean, we can't even get along amongst ourselves down here. So, I don't see how it would work, even if they were like, totally isolated. They didn't want to have any contact with us. They're just gonna park their ship in our ocean until they can, I don't know, rebuild their civilization and then maybe take off and go somewhere else. It's a possibility. I mean, just as much of a possibility of that as it is them invading, in my opinion. But the Blue Beam thing, a lot of people think that that's real. It could be, but how would they do that? You would have to have eyewitnesses, not just plaster it all over the media. I don't think that would work, because people would see what's on the media and then they would want to go outside and see it for themselves. Too many people are like that now, which is a good thing, because you can't really believe anything you see on a screen anymore. It doesn't matter if it's the news or anything. If it's on a screen, you can't really 100% believe it or know it to be true. I'll quote Crow 777 here and say, belief is the enemy of knowing. And I do have a feeling that they're not using the resources that we have available to answer simple questions about this thing. We have the technology to just look at it. Why aren't we doing that? I don't get it. It makes no sense. So that in itself kind of leads a little bit of credence to Blue Beam, I guess. And if Blue Beam does prevent, World War III, that's a real thing. I mean, that's pretty. We're closer now than we've ever been to that. And I won't spend too much time talking about that, but if they were to use something like Blue Beam to prevent that, that would be cool, but I would also be thinking about, like, was the whole thing a setup? Because there's still a part of me that thinks that they have stronger weapons than nuclear that don't cause as much aftermath, let's say. There's no radiation from these things. It's not about the fission and fusion aspects of the weapon. It's about the kinetic energy. So it's like the faster it's going when it hits the ground, the more damage it does. That's why asteroids, when they hit the Earth, they do so much damage. Because they're traveling at, like, 50,000 feet per second. It's faster than anything you've ever seen, probably. What a light show that would be. See, the weird thing about this one, too, is that it came in from outside of our solar system. At least that's what they think. And what they do is when they find it, they see what direction it's going, and then they just kind of extrapolate backwards. So, how far backwards can you really go? So, I guess we'll find out soon, because it's going to get here in October/November. At least I think that's when it's closest to Earth. But it'll be in our solar system until, I think, December, when it reaches Jupiter. Or maybe after that, even. And who knows, it could slow down, it could speed up. Apparently, the last one, Oumuamua, seemed to speed up. And there was talk of maybe the deployment of a solar sail to help it speed up. But it's just theoretical. Speculation at best. The only evidence we have is that it appeared to speed up. No one knows why or how. But apparently they've ruled out gassing. Like off-gassing. Sometimes these rocks, they can have pockets of gas in them. You get them too close to the sun, they heat up, and then they burst. And that can change speed and trajectory, assumingly. I don't know, I'm not a physicist. But this is the stuff that I hear. So with that, I think we'll put this subject to rest. For the rest of the show, I got some great music. And maybe if we have time, we'll get to a certain kind of music that it might stretch your patience. But if you're an audiophile or someone who likes to listen to music to, like, really focus in on something, this is the kind of music for you. I call it minimalist composing. It's probably not, I think it's just called minimalist. But it's not minimal if you listen to it closely. It's kind of hard to explain. Maybe if we have time, we'll get the songs are quite long. That's why I'm saving it if we have time till the end. So, well, what do you mean no one's coming to help us? You gotta be an optimist sometimes, man. What if they really do care about us? Because we're a byproduct of them. They put us here in the first place, and they're coming back to make sure we're not destroying the place. Because we don't have a babysitter. You gotta think about these things more positively. I'm just kidding. People in the greenhouse know what I'm talking about. By the way, if you're interested in coming over, seeing what we're chatting about over in the greenhouse, come on over to groundzeroplus.com and become a member. You can sign up for a month or you can sign up for a year. Click on the members content, you'll see chat room, and click on that. you find yourself in the greenhouse. And you can talk about whatever you want in the greenhouse. It doesn't have to be anything to do with the show, really. I mean, a lot of people just come in here to catch up. Hey, man, how's it going? Oh, good. How are you? And it's because the show's going on in the background. It doesn't always have to be about the topic. It could be about the music. A lot of times people ask me what the name of the song is in there, and I'll gladly drop it in there when I can, if I can. Sometimes there's other things happening all at once, meaning tabs and stuff, but usually I can get to those kind of things because I'm not always good at saying what every single song is. I don't know, I think that would just annoy me if I had to say what every song was. But anyways, here's some more songs, and I'm not going to tell you what they are on the Polynation broadcast, groundzeroplus.com. Here's another one by the Cinematic Orchestra in collaboration with Roots Manuva. And I'm not saying that funny, that's how it's spelt. The song is called All Things to All Men. Again by Cinematic Orchestra and Roots Manuva on the Polynation broadcast, groundzeroplus.com. I got some more alien things I gotta get off my chest too.
as if we're used to the shaggy. We made our beds and now we hate where these beds be. Took nothing at all to part this Red Sea. I'm a shackled child, singing the good song of freedom. They've got no pride, they interrupt our grieving. Teardrops dropping for the pain of the world. My best friend dies when she was just a young girl. Left me here to fend for myself, now the pain never leaves. We just learn to cope, so when the devil needs hanging, will you tie up the rope and shout, pull? Let's put an end to this bull Zen thing. How many years before we practice what we preach? How many tears before we truly clinch the peak? Only to find that there is no honey on the moon. Official goon with the unofficial croon.
I'm all things to all men, all of the women, all the children. Just say when and I'll take it till my tard is. Who's the hardest? Who's the hardest? I'm all things to all men, all of the women, all the children. Just say when and I'll take it till my tard is. Who's the hardest? Who's the hardest?
16 bar cycles, heartfelt recital. From the wacky blackie man, they should've called me Michael. Look at the monster you made, look at the monster you paid. But you claim no responsibility, cause it's each to himself in these times that we live. Does God have a sense of humor? Then the joke's on us, cause we're chasing our tails for how long? The tussle makes us how strong? Vintage poor people's fun. If we could ease up on these booze and fags, then just maybe life wouldn't seem so mad. Be a man, my dad said, but what the hell he know? He lost these dreams, he lost his flow. And I don't wanna be alone, I'm born king, so where's my throne? I'm too intense, I'm too deep, I'm too nice for life, so what makes this place so nervous?
I'm all things to all men, all of the women, all the children. Just say when and I'll take it till my tard is. Who's the hardest? Who's the hardest? I'm all things to all men, all of the women, all the children. Just say when and I'll take it till my tard is. Who's the hardest? Who's the hardest? I'm all things to all men, all of the women, all the children. Just say when and I'll take it to my hardest. Who's the hardest? Who's the hardest? I'm all things to all men, all of the women, all the children. Just say when and I'll take it to my hardest. Who's the hardest? Who's the hardest?
But you claim none. We're searching for Jesus, but I'll be damned if I'll be crucified with 10,000 spies, compulsive lies. They hate me, they love me, they hate me, 'cause I'm all things to all men, all of the women, all the children. Just say when, and I'll take it to my TARDIS. Who's the hardest? Who's the hardest?
Polynation broadcast. We're live on groundzeroplus.com. That was the Cinematic Orchestra. Second song by them I've played today. Yeah, I remember that album. It's got to be close to 20 years old now. Anyways, the whole album's really good, so I had to pick two from it. Just cause. Maybe a little selfish there, but whatever. Here's another thing about aliens. Okay, we're off the Atlas thing. Like, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But let's keep talking about aliens. A lot of people assume that if aliens visit us, that, and it's, you know, it's a fair assumption, that they're way more technically advanced than we'll ever be, or are at the moment at least, by magnitudes. Like a lot. So, what happens if they're not? I mean, maybe they've developed AI, let's say, 100 years earlier than us. And then they don't really need to worry about evolution at that point. So they just stay the same and follow their AI technology, and that's what gets them off the planet. And what if they get here and they're actually quite stupid? But their technology is so smart that it takes care of them and keeps them that dumb for a reason. The reason for that would be obvious. For total control. So that would be interesting. I'd ask them what kind of food they eat. You know, keep the topics light with these aliens because they're not as intelligent as we would hope. That would be an interesting scenario. I think maybe people wouldn't be, you know, as threatened if, yeah, okay, cool, they have all this crazy technology, but the aliens themselves, the living beings behind that technology, or at least at the birth of it, are just like us. Or maybe slightly less intelligent. What would we do? My first guess is governments around the world would fight to see who gets to take advantage of these people first, so we can steal some of their technology and back engineer it or integrate it into our own. They wouldn't know. Stupid aliens. That would be really ironic. Everybody would be shocked, I think. And I bet you some people would assume that it was an act. Come on, they can't be that dumb. They're just trying to fool us into making us think they're that dumb. Which is really smart, if you think about it. I can already hear those people. This is a hypothetical situation, by the way, of course. But I like to think about these things for some reason. And there's another thing. If we did meet aliens, I would want to hear what kind of music they listen to. What do they eat? What kind of plants do they have on board? Do they have mushrooms where they come from? How many suns do they have? Like, I would be asking all those kinds of, I guess, silly questions. Because that's what I'm interested in. The technology, I mean, they're gonna have technology for things that they need that we might not need. And so some of their technology might not even work here. Because it wouldn't do anything. It wouldn't, like, it would have no use for us. Just like I'm sure some of our technology would be useless to them. But maybe some of it would be useful. I mean, I'm sure if we do get visited by anything intelligent, they'll be interested in wanting to know what kind of plants do we have? How much rainforest do we have? How many species of fungi do we have? And that would just be a sliver of probably what they'd be interested in, but it would definitely be a part of it if they were intelligent. Imagine if they come here and they say, well, everybody in the galaxy knows that if you want the best plants and mushrooms in the galaxy, perhaps even in the cluster, that you come to planet Earth, because that's where all the fun mushrooms are. and the fun plants. Maybe they don't have a lot of fun on other planets. I mean, if you look on the bright side, there's lots of fun to be had on this planet, whether you're an alien or not. And I think without that, we probably wouldn't learn anything or develop anything. That would be another question I'd ask them. What do you guys do for fun? Just floating around out there for how many generations? Do you guys play tennis or something? Chess? Do you have any games? I bet you alien games are fun. I wonder if they gamble. Yeah, all these thoughts go through my head about aliens. Hopefully they're already here. And just kind of laying low. And if they can stop World War III, and they're real, and it's not Blue Beam, then I hope they do. Even if it's for their own survival. We'll figure out what to do. Figure out maybe how to live with them. Or we could be a slave race. I don't think so, though. Anyways, tons of these thoughts when it comes to aliens. I've got a bunch of ideas for alien movies that haven't been done yet. I don't think I'll get into those today, though. But what I will do at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Time is stop the show again to shout out the greenhouse here over at groundzeroplus.com. The people who are members, loyal listeners, supporters, and friends alike. They gather in the greenhouse every week, 2 days a week. And at 4:20 p.m. Eastern, I will shout those people out. They are, after all, the people that have given the most support to the greenhouse and continue to do so. And my gratitude goes out to them every week at 4:20 p.m. Eastern. groundzeroplus.com. Become a member. Get in the chat room. There you are. Shout you out. Say hello. If you're new, welcome. This is the Polynation Broadcast. And every day is a new start by Sun Glitters. groundzeroplus.com. There's also the possibility that Earth could be like the Tijuana of the galaxy, because, you know, Earth girls are easy and all. Polynation broadcast. I'm your host, Paul Sinclair. And I want to stop this just to introduce the next band here. I found these guys while I was digging through my new music sources this week. And I found this band called Lightning Bug. I'm going to play 2 short songs from them. We're going to hear a double shot of Lightning Bug. And did anyone see that lightning strike? I don't know if it was a strike or not necessarily, but it was measured. It was the biggest one ever measured. Something like 550 kilometers long. A giant lightning bolt. We're going to see more of those. Because the planet is changing. Maybe that's why aliens would come here and say, hey, look, your planet's going to do this thing. You might want to get off it for a minute, or go underground, or build a big boat. Or maybe hang out on the moon until stuff settles down. We're going to see more of these big, huge lightning bolts. And I hope I get to see one, and I hope I'm pointing my camera at the right spot in the sky when it happens. I can't wait to see one of those. Imagine what it sounds like. I mean, if you were right underneath one of those, and it did make, I don't know if it makes a sound even. Who knows? I don't even know how high up in the atmosphere it is. Whether or not it's capable of making a sound. You would think it would. Anyways, before these police get here, here's Lightning Bug. The song's called I Feel, the Polynation broadcast.
When we most need words, we find none.
These are
Welcome to the greenhouse, lightning bug. The plants seem to dig your tunes. I'm gonna keep an eye on them. Never heard of them before. A lot of the music I play here on the show is new to me as well. Sometimes I listen to the whole song before it gets on the list, but many times I only need the first 30 seconds or maybe 2 minutes at the most. So we're listening to it together in a way, which is, I think, cool. Also, we're chatting in the greenhouse, which I'm going to shout out in about 10 minutes over here at groundzeroplus.com. And we're chatting about the, what different aliens look like, and what if they all come here and they're like the woke tards. Now, by woke tards, I mean, the multicolored hair, multi-piercing people that glue themselves to monuments, staple themselves to the road, eat Tide Pods, and protest climate change, and try to erase gender. Those are the people I refer to when I say woke tards. What if the aliens come here, they take away all the woke tards, and leave everybody else here on planet Earth to deal with whatever's going to happen? We would be like, I'm sure most people would be like, hey man, what the fuck? This doesn't make any sense. You're rescuing all of them? And then I think there'd be a lot of people that'd be like, okay, good, now we can fix the place. Anyways, these are the things that we chat about in the greenhouse, which is why it's so much fun. Because we just like to make fun of things sometimes. And if you can't make fun of something, well, I don't know, what can you do with it then? I get sometimes you could be like making jokes about things too soon. But it just depends on your perspective. And most people in the greenhouse have a very broad perspective and thick skin as well. So, the next song is called When We Disappear by the Dharma Chain. Ground Zero Plus, the Polynation broadcast, will be back in about 8 minutes, folks.
All times bright.
Polynation broadcast live on groundzeroplus.com. It's that time of the day. It's kind of bittersweet because it means I only got 40 minutes left. But this is the time of the show where we pause and appreciate the greenhouse by shouting everybody out. It's the least I can do for your support. So I do it every show, and today is no exception. And today we have in here, in no particular order, we've got Mitch Durbin, we've got Clayton 59, we've got Zero, we've got Barbani, we've got Eric, we've got Lisa, we've got Mike Mont, we've got Dats in Focus, and sitting on the couch over there in the corner is Mad Catter. What's the matter, Mad Catter? Cat got your tongue? I'm just kidding. Everybody's welcome here to hang out, chill, talk about whatever you want. Everybody's nice. There's no drama. There's no aggression. There's no judgment. It's always a good time. As I said before, good vibes for all tribes. No matter what you believe, think, or feel, you're welcome in the greenhouse. Just don't mess with my plants. Everything's plant friendly in the greenhouse. That's it. That's the only rule. Treat everybody like you would treat your favorite plant. Just maybe not throw water on them to, or don't try to force feed them or anything, but you know what I mean. So thank you, everybody, loyal listeners, polynationalists, or polywogs, whatever you prefer, for tuning in every weekend and supporting the show. I really do appreciate it, and without you, the show would be kind of boring for me. So thanks. And I hope you enjoyed the show. The topic today, not something I talk about very often. And everybody seems to have a lot to say on these topics, so once in a while I like to do that. But, take them from a different angle. And maybe it's not meant to be taken seriously all the time, because some things we're never going to possibly know. So if you can't possibly know something 100% to be true, it's fun to speculate. At least it is for me. It seems to be for you in the greenhouse as well. So, I think because we do have time left, I'm gonna test your musical limits here, I think, a little bit. This is kind of a longer song, but I spoke about it earlier. That this kind of music, what draws me to it is that it seems to allow me to focus. It's kind of like, have you ever heard people listening to brown noise, or like different colors of noise, and it sounds like just different tones of static? I mean, that apparently works for some people. I've listened to it for about maybe 30 seconds, and I've listened to a few colors. I think brown and white, and blue. And they're all just different tones of the same noise, basically. Every time I've tried listening to this stuff, I always think, I'd rather just listen to Steve Reich. Who's Steve Reich? Well, if you don't know who Steve Reich is, he's what many would consider to be a classical composer. But he's in this kind of subgenre, at least in my opinion, because it's not classical music like you're used to. It's very, I want to say, drony, almost repetitive. Well, not almost. It is repetitive. But to me, it's more effective than brown or white or blue or yellow, green, whatever color noise you listen to help focus and block out your surroundings and just get tunnel vision and get things done. I would much rather listen to Steve Reich. And so, this is a 15-minute song, fair warning. But try listening to it closely. And then if you can also not listen to it closely, and it can still help you focus. But if you listen to it closely, you'll notice subtle changes. And It's very almost meditative, I guess, in a way, or meditative, whatever. So here it is. We'll see if you guys like it. I probably won't play these kinds of songs very often, but I do go. This is one of my go-tos when I really want to focus on something and get something done, and usually I get it done before the song's over. Here's Music for a Large Ensemble by Steve Reich on the Polynation broadcast. I hope you like it. I should also point out, these are all live musicians. The Polynation broadcast. That was Steve Reich. Music for a large ensemble. And there's just something about that kind of music that if you really want to think about something, if I really want to think about something, like maybe it's a question that I just can't solve, I'll put something like that on and just really think about it while I'm listening to the music. And I don't know, that kind of music, yeah, it's a long song, but if you were to go back and listen to that, compare it to the last 2 minutes, the song totally morphs and changes, but it does so subtly that you almost don't even notice it until you realize, hey, wait a minute, this is totally different than how the song started out. How did he do that without me noticing? And his music does that a lot to me, which is fascinating. It's almost a form of hypnotism, but in a way it's a good hypnotism. It gets rid of all the noise and replaces it with repetitive beneficial frequencies that are more conducive to free thinking and problem solving and focus. But this is just my opinion, of course. What do I know? I only listen to music every day for hours and hours. It's got to be in the background. There's too much other noise around me. I got to have something to block it out. And that particular song is one of my go-tos for blocking stuff out. Put on some headphones. Maybe close my eyes. Maybe a little PPP, if you know what I'm saying. Anyways, we've got about 18 minutes left to go in the Polynation broadcast. So before I leave you with some more chill tunes, I would like to mention that tomorrow is going to be the history of heavy metal according to Polynation. In brackets, according to Polynation. That's key. Okay, it's very opinionated. It's very subjective. You can argue. I like arguments. Or debates. So if you're into heavy metal, come and join us in the greenhouse. Throw your 2 cents in. I'm sure I've got some maybe bands that you wouldn't think would be on there. But what I like to do is, just to give you a little bit of perspective of how I approach this, is I like to take the bands that are revered as being the inventors of heavy metal, and I like to find out, if possible, and it's not always possible, but sometimes it is, and I like to find out what did they listen to. And then I like to even maybe take it one more and then find out what that person listened to. Because without those two prior influences affecting each other, they wouldn't have had the influence that basically gave birth to heavy metal. And also, I think maybe the definition of heavy metal needs to be clarified, and we'll get into the subcategories of heavy metal because there are plenty now I didn't even know about. And we're going to try to make it a chronological journey through the history of heavy metal, how it was born, or how it was refined from a rock, if you will. And by rock, I mean rock and roll. And we all know where rock and roll came from. Well, if it came from the blues. Imagine if we didn't have the blues, how many other genres of music wouldn't exist. So yeah, we'll get into that. I'm looking forward to it. I still got a bit of work to do on it, but I'll be done in plenty of time. So till then, oh, there you are, Zoe. So Zoe's been asleep for the whole show. But she won't be tomorrow, I'll tell you that. Fair warning, folks, it's going to be a loud show. So join me tomorrow, groundzeroplus.com. The Polynation broadcast will be live at 2 p.m. Eastern Time for the history and birth of heavy metal from the Polynation perspective. I will leave you now with some tunes. Until then, see you tomorrow. Stay bright. Oh, and stay tuned for the Chilluminati later on tonight. That'd be 11 p.m. Eastern and time zones. So confusing. But I'll see you there. Back here at groundzeroplus.com. It's always a great show. My favorite Saturday night show. So here's Tokyo Dawn by Doc Scott. And on that, I'll say thanks for listening. And see you tomorrow, folks. Stay bright.
By the telescope, a faint fantasy.
This is Britain.
Love your sister and brother.
Life, love, and unity. Life, love, and unity. Life, love, and unity.
We are all responsible.
Love your sister and brother. Honor your mother and your father.
Welcome to the Polynation broadcast. I just love it when stuff works. Got a chill show lined up for you today over here on groundzeroplus.com.